She's a riveted still.
There she is. There she is.
All right. That's enough of that shit. Let's get this show on the road.
Hello and welcome to Indefinite Lunch in Infinite Combinations. This is 126. I'm so glad you're here today because I'm continuing my review of For All Mankind Season 3. And of course, we're at the season finale for Season 3. And so I'm glad today that we have Philip to talk about this episode with us. These two episodes, of course. We've reached episodes 9 and 10. Yes?
Well, I'm happy to be here.
Great. I'm so glad. Coming Home and Stranger in a Strange Land. And we're here to explore the great storytelling in For All Mankind, and we'll go into as much detail as we can about what makes these episodes fascinating. And first we have Coming Home, which is the 9th episode, first aired on August 5th, 2022. With a runtime of only 46 minutes, like a normal TV episode length, because For All Mankind tends to run long, but they make up for it in the next episode where it's a movie length.
Yeah.
And the time frame is, our star date is September 1995, the first days of September 1995, which is a 5-month jump from the last episode. This episode is written by David Weddle and Bradley Thompson, directed by Craig Zisk. And the synopsis is, plans to leave Mars are complicated by an unforeseen issue. Well, there have been lots of issues on Mars, namely Danny getting drugged out and causing everybody to suffer a disaster that causes a landslide, burying people and killing people. So they're still dealing with the complications of that on top of everything else, on top of trying to get back home. Just trying to get back home.
Yep.
And I want to say hello to Snortopupus Cuber. And I'm so glad you were here, Snorty, because there was a quote that was said. As soon as I said it, I knew I had to get it for you. So during this broadcast, you'll see what it is. Let's bring up the slides and see what kind of trouble they can get into on Mars.
Oh yeah.
There's lots of stuff going on. They're trying to dig up the MSAM because, of course, it was buried in that absolute disaster from when Danny effed everything up.
Yeah.
During the digging for water operation. So they're nowhere near, doing exactly what they wanted to do in terms of trying to build a colony. Now they're just trying to survive.
Thanks, Daddy.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. We really do have a classic Lost in Space scenario where the crew needs to get enough fuel to get back home. And so they have a puny fuel generator. Apparently that'll get them enough propellant in a month. And Danny says it's like filling up a jetliner with the soda can. To give you an idea of how long that's going to take. And I guess Danny's doing better now. He doesn't seem to be. I guess maybe he just ran out of pills, or I don't know what happened. Like there was no character development between those, that last 5 months to this time. Or the disaster woke him up to the fact that he needs to stop being, awful. But
I always thought it was the latter.
Yes, that's you always think the best of people, don't you?
Well, I mean, the part of the problem with a show like this is that, you have these time skips, so you have to kind of cover ground and do it in a way that at least is the most effective at the time. And so that's a double-edged sword.
I understand, and I do like that they keep up the pace that way, and they don't make us wait too long for certain events to occur. But at the same time, character development kind of suffers a little bit when you have to fill in the blanks in whole character development holes. Plot holes. These are your character development Like, what changed, Danny? We don't know, but he doesn't seem to be drug-addled this time.
I mean, I think a lot of that is left up to the audience to kind of fill in the context. I think that can be a its own problem as well. But I want to say hi to the chat too. Hey, chat.
Oh, yeah, of course. We said hi already to Snortopoopas, and also Low Specs Linux gaming expert in Fallout is here. And of course, he's got a penguin because the mascot for Linux is penguin. And hello to Lemon Pie. Good to see you today, Lemon. And Kelly wants to name the baby Ariella. Uh, but Ed still thinks it's gonna be a boy. I don't know. Gosh, and not only did Danny not live up to his parents' legacy despite his heroism of episode 1, but he quite possibly set the program back several decades because everybody in this episode's talking about how the space program needs to stop and you got to care about what's going on Earth and that the Mars program's a disaster and everybody's ready to pull out of Mars. Nobody wants to
Yeah.
be there. Coming Home is episode. There it is. David Weddle, Bradley Thompson, Greg Zisk in direction. The Russian doctor is afraid of having the baby on Mars. He wants the baby to be born on the Phoenix in orbit. And the whole world is really happy to be having the new baby that's being born on Mars, or at least in Mars orbit. We have our first Martian. We got a penguin and a bear in the chat. Yeah, we do. Oh. Yeah, so because the entire world is excited about Kelly's baby, they're all giving her baby gifts. Way too many booties. Yeah. I'm sure all the other things you need to have a baby, she's going to be inundated with way tons of stuff. So I guess nobody will have to throw her a baby shower. That's going to be time saving.
Yeah, I wonder what they're going to do to come up with baby gifts.
What do you? Oh, well, obviously she's gonna. Well, she's gonna have to come home as soon as she can, or she's just gonna be stuck on Phoenix. How how long is that gonna happen? 20
Well,
million onesies. Yeah, I saw somebody packing in this scene. They were packing in box. Because I mean, that couldn't be too good for a baby to be around that level of radiation, or who knows, even the what the gravity factor is having, what kind of problems that would have on a baby's development. You definitely as quickly as they get Kelly off of Mars to have the baby in orbit, it's how quickly they should also be dealing with getting Kelly home. Babies should not be in space. Yeah, no kind of way to raise your kids. Um, so Rocket Man song.
yeah. Mars ain't the kind of
So
place to raise your
truth,
kids.
right? There it is. And President Wilson, meanwhile, like I said earlier, nobody wants to be on Mars anymore. And not only that, Congress wants power over Mars. They want to control all of the monetary aspects of Mars and decide when and how NASA spends money. And President Wilson says, if I sign this bill, Congress will defund the Mars program. No one will go back, maybe ever, and space exploration will slowly die. I've got to say hello to Gorilla's Random Thoughts, who says, hey, Keep it down. I can't hear my boss cuss out the machine. I said I would bust down 3 weeks ago. Okay. Oh, and okay, here we go. This is like so. Aleda shows Bill Strausser her reasoning for why Margot must have been the one to show the engine designs to the Russians. And Bill says, "You're like a Batman villain," or something like that. It's really great. Oh, did we miss something? We might have. Oh,
Did we?
yes. I did kind of skip over this drama right here about the vice president saying that she needs to resign um oh wait, no, this isn't the vice president, this is the Democrat, right? This is
I think it's supposed to be Tip O'Neill.
okay, okay.
I think the
And
Democratic leader at the time.
okay, and he's talking about the homeless encampments that are around the cities because of the helium-3 putting people out of work, the nuclear because of the discovery of nuclear fusion. And we always thought once we figure out fusion, our energy problems will be solved and everyone will be happy. But this is Ramen kind of showing maybe the some of the things that might happen to people who work in the energy sector if we did get that boundless amount of energy.
I mean,
And
it's all part of the like transition from fossil fuels into this new era of fusion energy.
yeah,
And, you know, I hadn't considered that at first. And I mean, I'm not exactly the biggest fan of fossil fuels. So, in that
well, I'm
sense, I'm
not
kind
either,
of,
but it's the only
yeah.
thing that works right now, and so it's
Well, I mean, I think that's kind
we
of like
need coal.
the addiction sort of speaking to us. But
No,
I feel
it's
like
not.
beyond that,
It's fact.
no, I
Over
mean, like,
50% of our energy is garnered from coal, and
well, not
unfortunately, no matter how
50%
much.
is a bit high. I think it's even less than that. Generally speaking, I think most of our energy is derived from some sort of, you know, oil based or natural gas. Natural gas is ultimately the better
Mhm,
one. That's going to be the last to be phased out. So
yeah,
the whole thing for me is, seeing this sort of after effect of it, you know, it makes sense in the context of the series. And next season, you'll see how that kind of manifests into, with these workers who did work in those fields. They have to look
how do
for
they
you have
adapt?
you have to pivot to something else, and so
Absolutely.
I think
Yeah,
that's
they
going to be
have to
interesting for you
adapt,
to
and
discover.
hopefully they don't stay in these homeless encampments, because it kind of reminds me of that Deep Space Stargate Star Trek Deep Space Nine episode um called Past Tense. You remember that one where they do have homeless encampments and everything, and
Well, I mean, that was
I guess
in.
it's reality too.
Well, I mean, that's back in 2024. I remember I went to the Star Trek Las Vegas convention,
Mhm.
and they had a bunch of the writers for that episode, and they were trying to say that when they wrote that episode, it's not that they were thinking of the future, even though it's kind of strange how in real 2024 certain things that they had anticipated came to fruition. But
Yeah, it's not quite as bad, but it is pretty close. And that it well, and but I don't know. I still hope we figure out nuclear fusion. That would be amazing. And
I think we're on the
sure,
right track.
it'll be a difficult course, but that's really the only thing that can replace um, fossil fuels with any kind of actual um, w- without any kind of actual power. I think because other renewable energies are only held up by the subsidies that are being given to them. And I want to
I
say
mean,
hello
that's
to Canadian Spider-Man. Hey, it's Spidey. And Yeah, the space program is making life on Earth better, and that's the case no matter which reality we're in. But it just depends on how much you invest into it, on what you get out of it, and obviously, in the other universe, they're benefiting way more from it.
Yeah. It makes me envious of the timeline they live in.
Yeah, in some ways, definitely. And hello to Greek letters. Rimba. We're going to subpoena any recordings made in this office. Yes, so he's threatening to grab the recordings. Yeah, and I knew they were dumb for having their argument in the Oval Office last week because I was thinking just that. Is that, hey, aren't the conversations in this office being recorded? But I guess they didn't think of that. Oh well. And so basically he's threatening if she doesn't sign the NASA bill to allow Congress to control the funds of NASA, that he's going to subpoena those recordings and expose Larry to his perjury, that he's lied under oath.
Yeah.
And that'll be it for Larry and Ellen. And now Aleda's sharing her findings with Bill regarding her theory that Margot was sharing Aleda's 1992 engine plans with the Russians. And the disaster, the disaster is just, it affects everything throughout this episode. Yes, but she is it's a pretty good board. I like how she doesn't need those strings. Like, I think those strings, like, oh, we gotta connect this to this and that. Like, there's like she doesn't need that. Yeah, the thread. Yeah. She didn't need that.
Not yet, anyway.
Oh yeah, she hadn't gotten that far. That's what it was.
And this is Dev's little sort of starship-like little spacecraft he wants to build.
Calypso.
Yep.
And it'll be run on nuclear plasma propulsion. And so this is apparently something that'll be able to travel from Earth to Mars without having to wait for an orbit window. You know, how we slingshot craft the way that we conduct space travel now. Instead of having to rely on that, you can go anytime you like.
Yeah.
Which would definitely make things way different. And he doesn't want to just build one, he's going to make more than one. And not just that, he's going to build spaceport, greenhouses, dormitories, housing, colonists. He has a dream. He's really excited about it, but unfortunately the board is not quite so excited. Need I remind you, an entire effing mountain just came down on us, wiping out nearly every asset we had, not to mention the 3 people who died. So there's, but Dev, he's always trying to inspire people. He's saying, do you remember Jamestown, the first settlement in 1607? Do you know how many settlers died in the first 3 years? 80% from disease, from starvation, from the elements. Suppose the original settlers said, this is just too hard. Let's forget about this new world with its unlimited possibilities and go back to Mother England with our tail between our legs. And that reflects exactly how he feels about giving up on Mars despite tragedy. Giving up on Mars because of tragedy, rather. Excuse me. My phone wanted to beep at me.
Uh-oh.
I want to thank Eugene Bird for supporting the channel. It's always very encouraging to see you. He says, a passing hello to our admired host and the rest of her chat minions. congratulations on another series reviewed. Yeah, another season. I've got one more season. After this, we're gonna review season 4, and in December we'll finish it by December 3rd, and it'll be a really good show. Well, we'll finish it before December 3rd, but December 3rd will be the last For All Mankind stream. And not just a he didn't just send a super chat for $9.99. He also sent a super sticker for $9.99 of a little pear scene. Thank you. You're welcome. So let's play a few videos for Eugene Bird. I appreciate you. And hey, Sci-Fi Sith Dan's here. Hi, Sci-Fi Sith Dan. What's going on? How are you? Let's see what super chat should we get?
Now we have all that time in the world.
Oh, we just mentioned Batman. This is my only Batman clip. I need more of them.
Why are you afraid of flying?
Our record tapes show, although never generally revealed.
And there's Cat, ISIS. And we're starting to think about, well, I don't have any Halloween clips, but some people like to turn green for Halloween, so.
Dream.
Fortunately, of course, I am immune to its.
Oh, it's furry.
I'm just playing a lot of random clips.
The dream that made Mr. Spock and me brothers.
Oh, what's this one? I forgot about this one here. Oh, right, the ensign flying in relics. I love that clip. That's why that's there. That makes sense. I have that. That is pretty cool. It's not a chat without Snortopoopas Cuber. And that's a quote from Fet for Hire on Saturday. Yeah, I remember Fet saying that. He was absolutely right. And Greek Letter says, I bet the slingshot propulsion system is basically a gigantic slingshot where you have where you have strapped the ship and then zoom off it goes. Okay. Basically, then everybody, if that were true, everybody at NASA are just basically Wile E. Coyote. And yeah, thank you so much, Eugene Bird. Thanks again. Let's see, where were we? So Dev is getting his bubble burst. He's got all these dreams of continuing Mars colonization, and everybody else wants to hold off. And Dev says, give me some time. I'm going to pull us out of this hole. Or so he says. Helios has squandered billions. But so they want to go back to what's actually making the money, which is mining helium-3 on the moon. And you always got to be careful with mining operations. However, you don't want to mess up the moon. We kind of need it, right? And now they're listening to their the White House recording of them having the argument where they reveal that he's lied under oath. The funniest thing, as the president and first gentleman collude on how to deal with the incriminating tapes, is that they're still talking about it in the Oval Office. So then, isn't this conversation about their plan to obstruct justice recorded too? Or did she turn it off? Then nobody said anything about turning it off. So it's still recording as far as I know. That can't be the only recorder. There's Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, they discuss possibility, getting rid of the tapes and doing all the Nixon stuff.
Mhm. So basically, Larry sees the only way out of this is to partially tell the truth that he's had an affair, but lie and say Ellen Wilson didn't know about it. So yeah, they're both yeah they've both been living a lie since the beginning of the show, ever since the FBI started snooping around trying to see who was gay because that was a national security risk because they could be blackmailed by the Russians. And ever since then, and then somehow, as we've seen, Wilson became president and she married Larry. And well, they're actually really good friends. They're really great friends. They really do have a chemical connection, but it's more like best friends rather than actual lovers. They're not lovers, but they did have a baby. And so they do have a son. It's been a whole thing.
Yeah.
They're actually working on a giant centrifuge that flings things into space here in New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, who are they exactly? Spin Launch.
I mean, it's spin launch, yeah.
Who runs Spin Launch? Is that the name of the company?
It's the name of the company and the mechanism.
Oh. Oh, to throw satellites up there? Wow. Joke.
Yeah, it's one of those. They try to find new ways to create non-rocket launch capability. So this is manifested into launching satellites or spacecraft from planes, or figuring out, maybe developing mass drivers or miniaturized versions of them. And yeah, they're getting pretty innovative on how they want to approach that.
Wow. Neat. That's good. Although I'm also thinking, well, now we know a way to keep throwing our space trash up there. Who's cleaning up?
Well, there'll be a job for debris haulers one day, I hope.
Yeah, that's what I think so. I think that'll have to be the case.
At least if the anime/manga Planetes is any indicator.
Mm. Oh, in the last scene, Aleda was showing Bella how she eliminated every possible person and that Margot could be the only one. And so he tells her that she's onto something, but that she should go to the FBI. She disagrees. And we'll sell. Oh yeah, okay. So Karen wants to sell Phoenix to NASA. She thinks that's a good idea, and Deb does not think that's a good idea. Let's see, where are we? Where's my notes? Okay, so it's very clear here that Danny has not yet confessed to his crimes beyond everybody's obvious knowledge that he was high on something for a while, but he's obviously not high anymore, so it seems to be no issue. They're just and this was the part where I was saying there seems to be no inquiry even into the disaster, but it turns out there was an inquiry. It was just taking forever, and it comes later. And I can think maybe my least favorite part. He did die realistically. Alexi did, but I feel like he just died just so Danny could get away with it. So that it will have to be revealed some other way. And so they need a certain part to be able to get back be able to get back into orbit, but that part is not. They don't have another part. It's on the Phoenix. So they
Yeah.
say, well, I might as well be on Jupiter. But fortunately, the
Mm.
Russians have some. Unfortunately, that part is 1,500 kilometers away from Happy Valley. Helios sold this part and then also sold it to India, Turkey, and North Korea. And so
Yep.
by figuring that out, we find another probe that's on Mars. That's only 89 kilometers away, which is way more reasonable of a trip. That probe just happens to belong to North Korea because in this universe, North Korea actually has a functioning space program. Even though
After
in our
giving up their nuclear program.
yeah, even though in our universe they're only very recently improved their missile accuracy, so it is a way different reality. Because I don't know exactly how North Korea is so better. I mean, because just because Russia didn't get bogged down in a war with the Middle East, somehow that makes North Korea better off too. It's very odd, considering how dark they are, and they may be dark in this universe too. We just don't know. They just happen to have better space stuff, but in our reality, they commit major crimes against humanity, just very openly commit they commit genocide in this universe, and but we don't know about what they're doing in the For All Mankind universe.
I think the implication is that they might be a bit better off, but not by much.
All right. Well, enough
At
to
least,
have a space program.
at least judging by the conditions of the probe when we get to that point.
I like how the Russians are concerned about whether the North Koreans are okay with it. And so I guess it just depends. It just depends.
Yeah.
Really, they just need this part so they can get back home, and they can replace their part later if it's very important to them. They'll just it'll be fine. And this was at the point where, because I think in a previous episode, I was making a joke that they stuffed a person in there, and they actually did. So we do find out this
Well,
episode.
I did my best not to reveal that one.
Yeah, I know, and I didn't even believe you when you did mention something. I was like, nah, there's no way.
Yeah.
Oh, at this point, Lemon Pie says they need North Korea more than North Korea needs them. Yeah, yes, at that, definitely they need that part. Without that part, they can't get back home.
Although, we'll get there.
All right. Oh, and so going on that mission to go retrieve that part, Danielle has chosen herself and what's his name? The Russian. Is it
Kuznetsov,
me? Oh, okay.
the commander.
Gotcha. Thank you. And so Bill forced the FBI into the matter so Aleda still doesn't want to cooperate. She didn't want to call them in the first place. She gets pissed at Bill. She says he's dead to her and leaves. And yeah, that makes sense. Because she trusted him with the thing that she's been secretly working on, and then he just does this behind her back. But something had to happen eventually.
Yeah.
I wonder what would have happened with this storyline if Aleda was forced to deal with it on her own. I think it would have been more interesting than this, than just Bill being a narc. It's kind of boring.
Yeah.
And so she gets upset about it and tears all the stuff down. And on top of that, on top of dealing with all of this stuff, her dad is starting to forget who Leda is. He's got Alzheimer's or some type of dementia. But he remembers her again. So then he's not completely lost yet, but it's coming. And if we're having a huge time jump between the end of season 3 and season 4, if we see him again, it's not going to be good.
No.
Oh, the drilling accident report. This was the thing I was waiting for forever. But unfortunately, it's the drilling accident report blames Nick Corrado, who died in the who died in the disaster caused by Danny. But I guess he did abandon his station to someone who he knew was a junkie. But Ed also put Danny in that position also, knowing he probably wasn't up to it. And Nick Corrado is being blamed for failure to correctly monitor housing pressure and take appropriate action at reservoir penetration. And that was actually what Danny is guilty of. But he doesn't quite reveal that yet. Back at Helios, someone is interested in the fact that Karen wants to sell the Phoenix. And so the board is interested in this idea. They like it. They like that NASA wants to buy it, and they're ready to sell. And this is Dev's, in particular, this is Dev's former partner. Together, Richard and Dev worked and figured out nuclear fusion together. He says, yeah, and back then everyone was desperate to be the one who finally figured fusion out. Trouble was, nobody could make the reaction last until Dev. He figured out a way to bring helium-3 nuclei together and keep the reaction going. And Karen and Richard continues, watching him work, I knew I was in the presence of greatness. He was unlike any other engineer I'd ever met. And so Karen asks, why are you two always snapping at each other's throats? And Richard says, simple, I'm the one who tells him no. And so I like this character introduction, even though we knew about him for a while, but now he's actually there. And so hopefully there'll be more from him. Richard likes this idea to sell the Phoenix, and what Dev thinks apparently doesn't matter anymore because the board is voting to drop his CEO status. So they're just basically cutting him out of his own company.
Well, I do like the fact that they they established Richard as a sort of a check on Dev, so he's the last, no vote. And so if he gets rid of Richard, it becomes nothing but yes men.
Right. Oh, right. Yes. Okay. And you're talking about all the people that all his employees that he has come surrounding them, because he kind of has a cult-like status among his employees who almost, I don't know if I want to say worship him, but they really believe in him until until Karen points out, hey, you're not gonna get as much money now if you stay with this guy. So in the end, people do care about their livelihoods, but we'll get to that later.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, back at the White House, because that's still going on, Larry really wants to come out on nationally to everybody. And he wants to admit his affair with Jimmy, and he wants to admit everything. And he was just taking the kid to bed after he read their child a story. I forget the kid's name, honestly. But what happens is she says we can find another way, and that other way is that she sees just how much he wants to he wants to come out. So no, she wants to do it, but it's not just him. She's also thinking of Pam. Pam told her she was disappointed that she's not done anything that can help with the with treating gay people like human beings. and and so Ellen Wilson, the president who became president without anybody knowing she's gay, is now revealing that is the fact. Oh well,
Yeah.
so then
Cat's out of
kind
the
of
bag.
taking it from Larry. So the first woman president got at least one term. It's yeah, she's been lying to the government since the 70s, and she one good thing she does is she signs an executive order to allow gay men and women to openly serve in the military, which did not happen in our timeline until September 2011.
Yep.
And even gives Will Tyler a Presidential Medal of Freedom. What years did this show run? It's still running.
Yeah, started in 2019.
There you go. Oh, you meant in real life, not this show. Okay. Interesting. And of course, everybody's having a reaction to that, and some people supporting it, some people not supporting it, as you can expect. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Roland is he comes full circle from the way he initially was treating Will with fear. He's made friends with Will again and is honored to be his friend. And that's nice. We're accelerating humanity coming together sooner than we get in this timeline. But cooler that they've got fusion. Eugene Bird says, I noticed on the replay that Jill Shore Leave and Harry Potter streams are scoring the most support. She needs Big Daddy MRI and Casey Osowski on her team. Big Daddy MRI is on my team in a sense. He's a member. He's a member of my channel, and he's a great friend. And Big Daddy MRI is awesome. He's a good guy. I don't think I've seen Casey here, but Casey's a busy guy. I'm sure he goes where he can. PJ Bear says season 5 began filming in July of this year. So it's filming right now. Good news.
Yeah.
And when it comes out, I'll pause my Twilight Zone reviews and we'll get back to it for season 5, which will be neat.
Yeah.
Let's see where we go.
And hopefully many more seasons.
And so they're so happy about Will not having to be discharged from the army. So they want to start partying. Unfortunately, their celebration is cut short because they find Kelly passed out, and so because her heart rate is going too fast, she's pregnant. She's got preeclampsia, where you've got all sorts of issues with your heart, and typically, either that means heavy bed rest or you've got to get the baby out sooner than you expected. And it's going to be the latter for Kelly. So they find the North Korea probe. Let's see. Let me check something. Yeah, that's fine. They find the North Korea probe, and it copies old Soyuz designs from Russia. And they find the passenger. And this astronaut, this cosmonaut, is not happy, to see them basically. He's got a gun.
I think they have a Korean word for astronaut now.
Oh, they do? Oh, they
Yeah.
didn't. They call it cosmonaut in this show. What is the current word for a Korean astronaut?
Well, I think they actually develop it for the next season, but yeah, I forget what the actual term is. I think it starts with a U.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know what it is because it's not in this episode. And so at this point, I realized that that whole fight earlier, where let's see, do I still have it?
So that's what they
Let's see
call
if I
them.
still have it.
Uju nuts.
I wanted to see if I still had this clip. No, I guess not. This is the point that I realized that this North Korean man must have been the first person on Mars. And it's true. And this is the end of this episode. And so that's what's going on with this. We got Kelly's baby in danger, Danielle in danger, and we'll see what's going on in the next episode right now. We don't have to wait till next week because I cover 2 episodes per stream, and we're going to. This cliffhanger doesn't have to be a cliffhanger because we're going to cover it right now.
Yeah.
And the main song that is shared in this episode is right at the beginning. They play How Bizarre, which is one of my favorite 90s songs. It's really fun because it's a story. But if you want to know the rest, you've got to buy the rights. And PJ Bear says, oh yeah, season 5 is filming. That's really good news. A Korean astronaut is... Oh, that's that word's Japanese, gorilla.
Yep.
A Korean astronaut is called kamikaze.
Yeah.
Gorilla, random thought. Gorilla, bad gorilla.
Yeah, definitely not touching that one.
Oh god. It's kind of funny though. But that's exactly what Korea thought though when they sent them. When they sent these astronauts in the probe, they didn't tell anybody. They didn't say, "Hey, we're going to be first to Mars. Screw you guys. We're going first." They just sent the probe and they said that it was an unmanned probe and they wanted nobody to know that they were sending people to Mars just in case they died. And then they figured, oh, we didn't get any word back from our cosmonauts, so they must be dead.
Yeah.
And they thought that was the end of it, that they just smashed a couple of people onto Mars and they died.
Yeah. But according to the For All Mankind wiki, a Korean astronaut is called an Ujunaut.
Ujunaut?
Yep. UJU not.
Ujunaut. Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good research. DJ Play Nice says, good morning, Jill. Thanks for hosting. You're welcome. It's my pleasure. We're already on the second episode. We're making great time. We're on the last episode of the season, so we're finishing off season 3, and we're gonna see how Kelly's baby is saved. Stranger in the episode Stranger in a Strange Land. This is episode 10, season 3, last episode. Aired on August 12th, 2022, with a runtime of 82 minutes. Is this the longest one so far? It's basically about as long as a short movie. And the star date is September 4th to October 1st, 1995, with the flashback to February 8th at the beginning, and a jump to 2003 at the end. Oh, did I miss the end? Did I do that again?
Oh,
Hold on, just a second. I need to see.
take your
Why do
time.
I always miss the end? Do they do it after the credits? That's messed
Yeah.
up. You're not supposed to put things after the credits. Hold on, let me see.
I don't think it's after the credits.
Okay. Oh no, that. Oh, okay. Yeah, I did see that part. All right, hold on. I'm just. Oh shoot. Okay. I don't mean
Spoiler
to be
alert,
playing
folks.
this. I don't mean to be playing this right here. Hold on. Let me stop my screen. I'm watching it, but I shouldn't. I don't want to worry about the copyright. Hold on just a second. I'm just making sure that I didn't miss anything.
You're good.
Yeah. Okay. I did see it. I just thought for a second that I didn't see the end. Anyway, yes, there is a jump to 2003 at the end. And the writers of the season finale episode are Matt Wolpert and Ben Nadivi, with the same director as last time, Craig Zisk. And Snorter Poopus Cuber says kimchi in a can. And so now I got to bring back those slides. Let's go back to my screenshot. And we're going to find, where the heck are they? In just one moment. Here they are. Now I've got to find where I was. That's the second episode. Oh, this is the episode where I had to get a few clips. The beginning is kind of like Castaway. And so also this episode's title, Stranger in a Strange Land, is a nod to Robert A. Heinlein's 1961 novel.
Yep.
And it's about a human born on Mars. And who comes back to Earth and has trouble. So maybe a reference to Kelly's baby, or future reference. I don't know.
Yeah.
Kimchi may be a power source one day. There seems to be much gas inside of it, says Lemon Pie. Greek letters says, and for a post-credit scene, 2 dudes mowing their lawn. Yeah. I forgot how it ended for a second. That's why I needed to see it. The synopsis for this episode is that the Martian crew debates how to save the life of one of their own, which is, well, 2 of their own, Kelly and the baby. That's 2 people. And so on February 8th, 1995, so we're rolling it back. This is a flashback to the very first person who made it to Mars. So this is actually a flashback all the way to the very beginning of the season, where you see a couple of boots, people of somebody, you don't know whose boots they are, who first get to Mars, and then we have this Mars space race with Helios and Russia and the U.S. and everybody wonders who's gonna get there first, and we all think it's both Danielle from NASA and the Russian commander, who both stepped on Mars first. But it turns out neither of them were the first humans on Mars. It was this North Korean survivor, this probe.
Yeah.
This probe
Yeah, I
that
think
carried. Go ahead.
I think this whole thing kind of encapsulates this theme that this race to Mars is kind of silly, and so you don't really have somebody who won necessarily, because this North Korean guy ended up being the actual person to set foot on Mars first, and so
Yeah.
it kind of upends that whole space race idea from the beginning.
Well, it was still silly even without the North Korean, because they both stepped on Mars at the same time, so you can't really say who was first. And I thought it was funny when you ask both of them, they both say they're the first ones who stepped on
Yeah.
Mars, and so you always
Yeah,
get a different answer.
but
Now
now
it
with this,
doesn't even matter.
I mean, yeah, with him landing on Mars first, it kind of throws them both out. And
It
so,
negates it definitely.
yeah,
I mean, the commies still won again. All
yeah,
right. So they try to slow the craft down, but unfortunately, one of the astronauts dies. Park Cole dies, and only Lee Jung Gil survives. And even though they were able to, the parachutes were finally released, it was too late. And so those are the boots that we saw at the beginning of the season. And that's a good tie back to that. Very, very well wrapped. If you want a series where where the writers know how to wrap things up in a pretty bow, that's For All Mankind. And so this is that payoff from the very beginning. And so Lee is left alone to survive on Mars, and all he has with him is a photo of his wife to keep him strong. And a lot of canned food.
yeah, lots and lots of canned tuna, maybe.
Imagine two superpowers having a space race for Mars. And when they arrived, they found a third party welcoming them with the phrase, "Well, you certainly took your time."
What took you so long? Yeah,
Yeah, what took you so long? Yeah, and right, and not just, yeah, you got two superpowers and then a third world nation, third world country, making it to Mars first. Crazy. And hello to Jim's Landscape LLC. Great to see you today. And it's so outrageous, but he survives on canned food, and he keeps trying to send a message back to North Korea, but his communication systems don't work. His satellites don't work. He even ends up breaking his arm trying to fix the satellite to communicate back home. And of course, you just assume North Korea assumes that he's dead, and then we get this. I really kind of like that song. It's a
catchy.
it's a South Korean song.
Mhm.
So because I guess they couldn't find any good North Korean songs, but I preferred that. I like that one. And so he of course, since his partner died, he buries him, and he's still trying to communicate back home. That's all he can do, is keep trying to survive, collecting samples, doing everything he was supposed to do on Mars, and just wait. And now he's running out of food. He's running out of patience. Rather than starve to death, he takes a locked box. He opens it up. It's got a gun in there that allows him, which will allow him to euthanize himself when he's ready. And he seems to be ready for that. Um, so there he is collecting samples. He's still waiting. Waiting for a response from North Korea. Vixen. Okay. Oh yeah, and he grew more hair. That's how you know time passed.
Always.
Mhm.
Do you have the slides?
Oh. Oh, and you want to see the slides? Okay, why not? There's his there are his samples. And he leaves um these holes in the sand and
Yeah.
in the dust.
Mm.
And so he makes a happy face. But unfortunately, his cassette player breaks. It's his only form of entertainment, and so he smashes it in frustration.
Yeah.
And I still like this song. The song is still playing this entire time.
Hmm.
And I guess until this moment when he has to smash it. And now he's found the gun, and since he's got nothing else to live for, even I guess his wife isn't enough for him. I guess he's running out of food is I think the biggest thing. He just doesn't want to die in pain, so he's about to get rid. He's ready to go.
Yeah.
And just in the last nick of time, he sees a rover in the distance. He sees somebody coming. And I'm wondering, is this the longest intro in the history of From All Mankind ever?
It's got to be up. It's got to be up
Yeah,
there.
it's got to be, right? I don't
Yeah.
know. He was just going to use the gun to end his suffering, but now he's using the gun and turns it on the only people who could possibly help him survive and turn things around for him.
Yeah.
That tells me that the indoctrination in North Korea is still working pretty well.
Yeah. But
DJ Play Nice says K-pop fan. Not typically, but I guess I like that one. I think it's cute. No. These are Koreans. This is North Korean.
yeah, I kind of have the suspicion that they would have been Chinese if there
Mhm.
wasn't like the politics that go on with Apple. But I don't know. This is kind of interesting to me, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah, and I'm okay with it too. Although China would have made more sense. I wouldn't be questioning a third world nation getting to Mars. I wouldn't be questioning China getting to Mars. They're a superpower. Um, but I do question North Korea. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Snortopoopas Cuber says when the humans landed on Mars, the polar bears said, "Well, there goes the neighborhood."
Yeah, I need that Spaceballs clip.
Yeah, definitely. And Spirit Animal, hi Spirit Animal. Degenerates. The show ended 2022. Degenerates? Who's Degenerates? What do you mean the show ended in 2022? The show's still going. I'm reviewing For All Mankind from seasons 1 through 4, and when I finish,
Yeah.
I'm going to be all caught up with my own watch through of this series. And so then I'll be ready for season 5 when it comes around to next year, and I'll be reviewing it as it comes out. I wanted to learn about this show is all I'm doing. I talk about old stuff all the time, so actually this is one of the newer things I'm sharing. It's kind of funny,
And it's been a fun
but
ride.
it's good to see you. Yeah, thank you for being on it with me. Greek
Of
Letter
course.
says having no music in space is a problem, but you can overcome it by singing. Imagine being in a long-term mission and having only tofu for food.
So,
That's when you lose it. Yeah. Just tofu. Wow. Tofu is just like a sponge. Like it'll absorb all the flavors of whatever you're cooking. So
yes,
just having only tofu is it? I don't know. I mean, It seems to be of some kind of solid material, but I'm not. I'm
Some
not
sort of
certain
edible.
myself.
I've never had it, so I can't say.
It doesn't. It doesn't seem to kill you when you eat it. It's not. It just basically, like I said, it's just a sponge of whatever you stick it in, and it just tastes like nothing unless you add it to something.
It sounds awful.
Yeah, it is. It's awful unless whatever else you make is good. DJ Play Nice says tofu is a blank canvas. Yes.
Oof.
Yes. So if you only had tofu, ouch.
Hmm.
When he pointed the gun, he said, "Give me all your tofu."
Hmm.
Oh my god. Actually, he said you're trespassing on North Korean territory. So we finally got to the title credits, "Stranger in a Strange Land," written by Matt Wolpert and Ben Nadivi, directed by Craig Zisk. Mhm. They can't hear each other. One of the things you need to know: Danielle and Grigori are not on Lee's channel radio frequency, so they can't
Right.
hear each other.
Yeah. But it doesn't end the way it did with those two cosmonauts on the moon.
Right. He doesn't shoot.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what I was afraid of. But I guess since it's not Americans with the gun, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And President Wilson, this is where she has the scene with her vice president. She says, "I know for a fact you're already planning to support the speaker's bill to defund NASA." And Bragg says, "Well, I'm sorry to state the obvious, but if you haven't noticed, Mars is an abject disaster. It has become a circus from the start. First, Will Tyler, then this Russian love child. Not to mention the fact that 7 people have died." Wilson says, "We didn't do these things because they are easy, but because they are hard," obviously referencing Kennedy. "I won't allow you to destroy everything we've worked so hard to build." And he says, "Then I won't allow you to destroy the Republican Party." And Wilson says, "Maybe it needs a little destroying."
Yeah.
I I think I said something like that when I was trying to work with the Republican Party one time, and they gave me an ugly face, but I was trying to help. Anyway,
At least you tried.
I did. Oh, I needed Ron Paul to be president, though. But anyway, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna continue. President.
Here I'm hoping for Ross Perot.
No, not Ross Perot, Ron Paul.
Yeah.
Oh, you were?
Me, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
The more I read about him, the more I like.
Mm-hmm. There's Scotty's Twitter, and Jim's here. Yay, Jim's still here. I just saw the chat going, so I wanted to see what's going on. And yeah, her vice president says, "You got to resign. You got to resign, or you're just not. It's not gonna. You're gonna be impeached if you don't resign. So spare yourself the embarrassment." But she doesn't agree.
Yeah.
She shouldn't have to resign. Right?
No.
We'll see what's going on. I guess that's season 4 thing. We'll see what happens with that.
Well, I think at this point they're kind of hinting at when she tries to run for re-election in '96 that she's going to have a tougher time. But you'll find out next season.
Well, I already figured that she's a one-term president, but she doesn't have to give up her current term.
Well, it's interesting you think that.
Well, she shouldn't have to anyway. Even if she's forced into it, even if she is impeached. But it looks like she's not going to give up without a fight. No, she's good.
Yeah.
And so we've got Molly, and it's really great to see Molly. But Karen is there to see Wayne, but he's not home. So Molly tells her, hey, tell me your problem. You're here. Wayne's not here. I'd rather be Wayne, but I'm here. So talk to me. She's always logical.
Is that right that Molly's only in the first and the last episode of the season?
Yeah, I think so, and that's disappointing, especially in that
That's
scene
crazy.
where Wayne goes to Karen's house. I mean, I guess Molly didn't want to go.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, she didn't want to have goo balls.
Yeah.
I don't believe
it. That's the most unbelievable part.
Mm-hmm. I guess maybe he was gonna wrap some up for her and bring them home.
Mm.
And well, this is where one of the clips that I get is from, because Karen confides to Molly that she's been asked to replace Deb as CEO of Helios Company, and she feels a sort of dedication to Dev for what he's done for her, that she owes him for how far she's gone. But Molly tells her she tells her the story about how originally Apollo 15 was supposed to be manned by Gordo Stevens, who'd been training all year for it. But she was handed the seat, and she didn't turn it down. And here's her reasoning.
I was going to say that you're a force of nature.
No,
And
I'm a selfish prick. That's okay. Selfish pricks change the world.
It's amazing. It's a callback to a scene in season 1, I think, between.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what they were saying in it, but it was Molly and Ed speaking directly about that.
Yeah.
About how selfish people are the ones who change the world, and that's exactly the same. It's the same scene, but now she's having it with Karen.
Yeah. Hinting at one of the larger themes of the series.
And speaking of selfish people, see what happens with Margot. Oh my god. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see that.
Oh, we will.
And that's her advice. It's good advice. Mhm. She's Oh, while I was talking about this scene, I didn't play the slides, so I'm behind. I already talked about all of this, so now we're just watching them go through. And that is the thing. I remember Karen used to be mad that all of these people were getting to be astronauts, even though Gordo had spent all this time training, and they get to be rushed into it. But they still did have to pass all the same tests. They just got the accelerated program. But that's fun to think about, the character development that Karen's seen, and then the character destruction, and then the building back up of her character in this season. With the preeclampsia, the baby is not getting enough blood through the uterus, so this baby's got to be delivered. It's only going to be a month premature, but when you're having a baby in space, that's extremely dangerous. So they have to get the baby, they have to get the mother and the baby to orbit before the birth to have a safe birth because they have the ventilator and the magnesium up there. And those are things they need to have a healthy baby. And so, but it's the understanding it's going to take a whole month to get all of the fuel that they need to get back up to the Phoenix, and so now they've got to accelerate that plan.
Yeah.
And all the way down to 24 hours. And so they've got an engineering problem on their hands.
Yeah, it's a race against time.
Valley. And back at the North Korean capsule, Lee is holding Danielle and Grigori at gunpoint. The two talk to each other, and they figure out what I figured out a few scenes ago, that North Korea was the first to land on Mars, the first person on Mars instead of them, which makes them both laugh, and that's confusing to the North Korean. He doesn't understand why they're laughing. Grigori says if they both rush him, only one of them will get shot. But Danielle has a better idea. She notices the smiley face in the soil, and using her own drawings, she tries to communicate with Lee into being able to go to his ship to borrow the part so they can go home. And this method of communication reminds me of Stargate SG-1 when Daniel Jackson does the very same thing in that series. I forget what episode it is. Oh, we don't get to see him use his arm to mine a rocket ship takeoff like we do here. Actually, I would have had more time. I would have clipped that. It's really cute. And Grigori seems to understand, the rocket ship part. That's the best. That's the most thing that he understands the most. And he understands going home. That's something universal.
Yeah.
Oh, this part. Oh my God. Grigori pulls the tube out and takes Lee's gun. This is really drastic, but I guess it worked. And Danielle is able to get the tube back in time. So Lee isn't killed.
Yeah.
And so if Danielle is Daniel Jackson, then Grigori was Colonel O'Neill.
Almost. Yeah.
To be the one to think of the military situation.
Yeah, it's a good distraction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she provided the diversion, and he got the gun. And he says, "You're right. We don't need words."
It's great.
And Danielle puts the tube back in, and after they bury the pistol, and they mark their spot with a wrench, so they can find it later.
Yeah.
And they tie up Lee to the back of the rover because he doesn't want to leave his ship. And now they have the homing radar that's going to allow them to take Popeye back to the Phoenix. The MSAM. And they're there. They got the gun. They got the North Korean. They got the part that they need to get off of Mars. Everybody's tired of being on Mars. So back on Earth, President Wilson is speaking on the phone with Mikhail Gorbachev about what's going on, who says that he'll straighten things out with North Korea as long as she brings home the cosmonaut safely, or I forget what she called it. You're good not. You're good. Yeah. Urgent. Okay, so back at the LBJ Space Center, NASA. But before we go, there's one more thing. And I clipped this for Snortopoopas because it's a saying. It's a North Korean. This is a famous Russian saying, apparently.
I ran from the wolf, but ran into the bear.
So I ran from the wolf, but ran into the bear. So I guess that's kind of like out of the frying pan and into the fire.
Yeah.
There you go.
In English, it would be I ran from the wolf, but ran into the bear.
And so back at Johnson Space Center, Margot Madison meets with Roscosmos director Katisha. She says, "Hey, I can help you. I know you're in trouble with the FBI. Let me help you." And Aleda is the one who's been talking to the FBI. Except that's not entirely true. It all started because of Bill. She talked to Bill, who talked to the FBI. Anyway, at Helios, Dev meets with Karen, and he wants to stop. He wants to stop the board from replacing him, not realizing that they're going to replace him with her. But they also have some engineering problems that are way more interesting. Sojourner still has plenty of LH2. Their HABs could be used to synthesize the methane faster. So they're figuring out what they can do to get more fuel faster. But of course, they're not really able to do that. They've got to get this thing in orbit in 24 hours. But anyway, they're brainstorming stuff. But Dev pulls her Karen aside to say he might be able to get some investors to help him keep Helios. But then she mentions that she's going to be CEO. And despite him saying, "Oh well, I did this because this is happening because I broke from my collective structure that works so well," but she says that this is happening to him because he's been erratic, and that she wants to keep working with him even though he won't be CEO. And he says he's not going to watch her pillage his company. So, yeah, and I can imagine this is going to come to some effect later, especially with Karen gone, and what's going to happen with Helios then, and what is Deb going to do having lost his company?
Yeah.
So,
Really wish I could tell you.
Yeah, no, you can't. You can't.
Well, you'll find out
I
next
know
week.
I know he's going to do something. He's not one to sit on his
Oh no.
hands.
Oh, I have a feeling that him and Aleda are going to be the ones that are going to stick out the longest.
Mm-hmm. Well, Leif definitely. Well, she's like, well, she's gonna need a new office. Is all I'll say
Yeah.
right now.
Well, to say the least, yeah. But I mean, I can even see Ed persevering. Maybe they'll turn him into a robot. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, the singularity is near.
Oh, it hit them much faster, I'd imagine.
Yeah, transhumanism. Captain Blackburn is late for the finale. Well, you didn't miss too much. Just basically, everybody found out that it was really the North Koreans who arrived first on Mars in a so-called unmanned probe, which was in fact not unmanned at all, just using technology from the 60s somehow. Like, what's the deal with all these big fancy spaceships if you can just fling a soda can at them at Mars and make it? So, what singularity? Oh, it's a terminology for whenever humanity is able to merge with technology.
It's supposed to be the
transhumanism.
ultimate result in merging man and machine into some new transcendent form of life.
Yes, and this
Anything will be possible.
transcendent form will actually be able to keep the original consciousness. How that's possible, or if it's possible, we don't know yet.
Yeah. The proponents of transhumanism seem to think it's very possible, but even some people involved in the computer science world are kind of skeptical.
Yes. Well, I don't see it happening anytime too soon.
Yeah.
So that going back to that saying, I ran from the wolf, but ran into the bear, and Snorpoopus finishes it. I ran into the bear, and then became the yummy lunch.
Yeah. It's very good.
Yes, it is, of course. And for that, Gavin gives Snorty a nose boop.
Mhm.
So she's gonna, yeah, she's offered CEO. Either way, Helios is gonna sell Phoenix. I know that for sure. But what else is gonna happen? I don't know. So that's where that's basically where we leave off this storyline until next season. Praise the Messiah. We shall be the tech priests of Mars from Warhammer 40K.
Mhm.
Greek letters.
Omniscient.
So they've got to cut more weight out of the MSAM, the Popeye ship,
Yeah.
and they've got to cut a whole 1,000 pounds. But they've already stripped the MSAM of all extra equipment, unneeded equipment. So the only weight left are the entire crew. So the whole crew can't go to Phoenix. They're going to be so
Mhm.
they're going to leave them stranded on Mars for a year and a half if they
Yeah.
decide to stay and let Kelly go up to the Phoenix. So when they're going to get rescued, this is kind of a callback to when, I mean, Ed's been stranded before on the moon for a while, but he was by himself
Mhm.
in a much smaller base.
Yeah. But I get the impression he likes Mars a lot better.
Well, yeah, there's a lot more. There's more people and more things to do. I guess they're not stuck just watching the Bob Newhart show.
Yeah.
Kelly tries to argue against it, but everyone overrules her because she can't give birth on the base without basically dying. They don't have the proper equipment. And so they need this pregnancy is too complicated to have a normal birth. So they all volunteer to stay on Mars while she goes to the Phoenix. And they tell this to the president and Margot. Oh no, they tell this to Margot. Margot tells the president. Hey, good to see you here. Oh, and now it's time for Snorty to take a burn nap. Take care, human. Oh, I'm glad you saw your clip
Mm.
before you had to go. Bye, bye, Snorty.
See ya.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Let's see. How are we doing? We're doing great. And then here's the conspiratist. I was thinking about them last time when they stole that statue, and I had said you weren't here when I said this. I said, "Oh, they're just stealing a statue. At least they're not blowing anything up." And I didn't have
Yeah.
you here to make noises at me about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wish I could have been.
Yeah. Maddie's daddy's Steve Mitchum says, "Hi everyone. Can't really stay. I'm at work, but I wanted to say hi and hit the like button." Well, that's great. No, I appreciate any kind of interaction, especially just flying by to say hi. It makes me feel good that you take the time out. that you can to say hi.
Yeah.
And but definitely keep focused on work. You don't want to lose that work. And I know you have some pretty good work. So yeah, definitely keep taking care of Maddie and being awesome. And it's good to see you. I hope you're doing well. And then, alright. So we're back at the Johnson Space Center, and Charlie, and the conspirators they're pretending to be the media, but they're not the media, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so they're supposed to set up some kind of transceiver and transmit messages or something. And I didn't really quite get it until the reveal later that it is that they are setting up a bomb, and just kind of stupidly, idiotically, Jimmy's going along with it without really knowing what the hell he's doing.
Yeah. These Steven boys, I swear.
Yeah, well, he just listens to these creepy people just because he's frustrated with NASA, but he doesn't realize he didn't even question what he's being told to do. He just does it.
Yeah.
And NASA and the Helios are figuring out how to get the MSAM to Phoenix, and they only have enough fuel to get 95% of the way there, but they have to have 100% or nothing. And Margot tells Aleda to focus. Aleda does focus, and she figures out how to get that last 5%. She says that they can have Kelly be the second stage. So basically, she'll be like they're gonna put a thruster on her, and so she'll basically be a rocket. So are you suggesting we light Kelly Baldwin up like a rocket? And so basically, like the Rocketeer, but
Yeah.
a mother who needs to give birth.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of this, I wonder how much of it is really The Martian, but at least the movie.
Was there a rocket? Was there a jetpack or jet rocket in The Martian? I haven't seen The Martian in a long time.
Because I think in the Martian book, it's kind of unclear how he gets back up into orbit, but in the movie, they have to strip out all of the main mechanics and basically just leave a chair for him to, sit in while they launch him into space. And then the whole idea was that they would catch him like somewhere in mid orbit. And it's kind of like this.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Okay. So the way they talk about it, they say that that she wouldn't have enough thrust, but Aleda says it's about impulse. They just need a bigger gas tank, and so they could connect backup propellant tanks to the PMU. PMU. What's PMU?
Is it the personal maneuvering unit?
Okay, that makes sense.
It's like the next evolution of the space shuttle's MMU,
Hmm.
the man maneuvering unit.
Yes. Thank you. And so that's what they're working on. They're figuring that out. Well, figuring out how to get a pregnant lady strapped to a rocket to get her back to the space station so she can have her baby. What an
Mhm.
amazing birth story that kid's gonna have.
Yeah. Where were you born? Oh. No.
Yeah, no, nobody's birth story is gonna top that.
No.
Well, my mom had to strap a jetpack on her and get into orbit and rocket her way to a space station in the orbit of Mars, and that's where I was born.
Yeah.
And I'm sure his story will get his or her story. I think I'm with Ed. It's gonna be a boy. And
Good guess.
thanks. Dev calls the workers in, tells them he's been made to resign, but that Helios is just a name. We can start over with a new company, and he wants everybody to join him. Everybody's roused by his speech. They're ready. They trust him and everything. They're excited. But then Karen shows up, and she says, "Okay, but will their pay cuts? Will they be getting paid the same?" And now everybody realizes they're going to lose $100,000. They're going to have a huge pay cut. And not only that, they're going to lose their investment, which is their investments in Helios, if they quit. And this kind of ends Dev's power over them because they've lost they've got mortgages, student loans, they've got things they have to pay for. He says this is about all of us striving for something greater. And someone says, "That's pretty easy for you to say, Dev. I mean, you're like rich. And I just want a house. I'm paying student loans, so these are a lot of these are kids just out of college who are trying to make money and trying to build a life." Greek letter says they can build a huge sling and problem solved. And they can catapult everything that way. That would be pretty creative. Eugene Bird says Mars escape velocity is 11,000 miles per hour, 3 miles per second. I hope it's a powerful slingshot. Oh, yeah. Can you can you catapult something that quickly? And can somebody survive such a sling? Oh, excuse me. From the top of the MSAM. So she's learning about the plan to put her on top of the MSAM wearing the PMU. And she doesn't really have any other choice, so she agrees. And he tries to reassure her, telling her he has the best pilot helping her. So the best pilot, of course. You know what that means. We're gonna see Molly. Molly's back.
Yeah.
And so she's gonna man the comm station. And she's gonna talk. There's no one better to talk to Ed to help them because they've been through things together, and she was actually stuck in a very similar situation where she was just stuck floating out in space in a spacesuit, and they had to do varying different manual maneuvers to get to her, and they did.
All right, that's enough of that shit. Let's get this show on the road.
I didn't think about the max G-force. Good point. It has to be a slow acceleration. Yeah. Greek letter says, wait. Survival is another matter entirely for the interstellar catapult. You can't have the whole pie and a full stomach.
Who says?
And so, well, I mean, even without a catapult, even with what they're doing with the getting the MSAM as far as they can go and then rocketing her to the rest of the way, I guess it just timing is everything, as Molly says later on in this episode. And she meets Margot, who tells her Ed will only have 2 to 3% fuel after separation. And offers her anything she needs to get the job done to help Ed not only save Kelly, but also himself afterwards. So any advice she can give him will be helpful. Danielle and Grigori make it back with Lee. Lee doesn't speak English. But Ed, since he was in the Korean War, he actually knows a few Korean words. And he speaks to him, asks for his name, tells him his name. But then things get a little bit funny when he's not fluent in Korean. So he says,
Yeah.
"Well, my good dumpling, this is now your home."
Yeah.
It's really cute. I was gonna get that clip too, but I didn't. I ran out of time.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm. Gavin Blackburn says, "Why not use a giant Acme cannon and fire her like a human cannonball?" You know what? That's exactly what she says. Let me see. I skipped that dialogue a bit. She says that oh, I didn't even write it down. Let's see. I want to see if I can find this. That's pilot. What does she say exactly? Well, how am I going to fly it? Of course, he's saying he's going to pilot it. Oh, yeah, that was another thing, of course. Ed is going to pilot the MSAM to get her where she needs to be. And there we go. But what is she? Oh, more like being shot out of a cannon. So this is already like that, apparently, according to Kelly.
Yeah.
And Greek letter says that's an excellent idea. So this is nice. I'm sure. Okay, so Karen thinks that Jimmy's there just to support Danny, who's still on Mars, because family very often does come to NASA to check out their family or to communicate with them, talk to them. And then he says he's going to go for a smoke and leaves. He's obviously very nervous talking to Karen. And Jimmy says he set everything up. Unfortunately. And then Margot gets a call from Sergey. He looks great. He looks way better. He doesn't look as sickly or as messed up as he did last time. He's excited. He's got his family out of Russia. He's in an air base in Germany. He's going to move to America and he's going to get to be with Margot forever, right? No. No, she pretends that everything's fine and that he says he's going to see her in a week. But Margot knows better, but she doesn't say anything to him about it. It's a bit of a tragedy. Again, like one of those movies where one of those love stories where the two people are like in the same airport, but they don't see each other, and they separate forever. So it's great that see, I thought Sergey was gonna die. So this is great that he got his family out of the vice of the KGB and himself. Somehow Margot did that. We don't see how she did it. I was hoping to figure out how that worked out, but we don't get the details for that. Just that he made it, and so she did exactly what she wanted to do and promised him. And I thought at this point that she was going to prison. I didn't expect
Well,
what happens. That she was actually going to take the Russians up on their offer. Like, did you know she was going to defect? I wasn't gonna. I didn't think so. Crazy.
well, I didn't think that she was going to do it, necessarily willingly, but I knew there had to have been some kind of a trade-off.
Oh, and that's how she saved Sergey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. Interesting. Lots of questions for that one. Greek letter says, come to think of it, it's a good, inexpensive way to get stuff from one planet to the other. You build a super strong shell and hurl it at another planet. Well, as long as it doesn't start acting like a, a comet. As long as you can control the landing of the delivery. And I guess you can. There are definitely ways. And you keep rockets with slow acceleration for people who need to survive the trip. And yeah, there you go. At 5G acceleration, it'd take a 100-second burn to reach 11,000 miles per hour. Fighter pilots take up to 9G, but only a few seconds. 5G equals 160 feet per second per second. 11,000 miles per hour is 16,000 feet per second. So 100 seconds. So any pilot, they're going to be experiencing 100 seconds at 5G. I think it'll be okay. So, but I'm glad for Sergey though. He's just gonna miss Margot. Ed watches a video from Molly. Molly's telling him how to survive re-entry. She says, you can't trust the radar altimeter because we don't know exactly what terrain you're going to be dealing with. So that's useless. Effing useless. You gotta keep your eye on the horizon to gauge exactly when to fire them up. A second too soon, you're smoking whole. A second too late, you're a barbecue chicken. And Karen asks if this will work. Molly really doesn't know. Molly also lets her know that she used to be a barnstormer, which apparently is something to do with dressing up as a clown. So I guess some kind of entertainment pilot job. I guess those are for the super fancy parties. Grella's random thought says, "Oh, so close to a lottery ticket." Yes, I censored it because I saw it coming in my text in my notes. Gavin Blackburn says, "I do like barbecue chicken."
It does sound good.
Yeah, she's just making Ed hungry for some real food. He's stuck with all these MREs. She's talking to him about chicken. Danny wants to be the one to save Kelly, to pilot her, and to convince Ed. He admits that he's the one who caused the drilling disaster, and he wants to make up for it. And finally, Ed learns at least some of the truth, and so we finally get Ed confronting this truth that he's finally learned, saying that you can't use my daughter's life to absolve your guilt. And there's gonna be consequences when he gets back. It's basically what I've been feeling about Danny this entire time. Karen's looking for Jimmy. And she finds Jimmy. But not quite yet. We'll get back to that in a minute. At Mission Control, Margot is speaking to everybody. Nobody realizes this is the last time they're getting a speech from her. She says it's been an honor and a privilege to work with them. And she says, I remember standing right over there when Gene Kranz put a hold on the countdown and called everyone in here before Apollo 11. Yeah, I'm old. I still remember his words to this day. The future is ours to fight for and win. And Greek letter says Jill is from Texas. They know all about barbecue over there, or so I've heard. Yes. Yes. Good stuff. And then Margot leaves, and she goes back to her office to play her piano one more time. And get a last look of the room, but this isn't just her room. This isn't just her office that she's leaving. This is her home. The Johnson Space Center has been where she's lived since starting her career at NASA, and her dedication led to her abandoning many other goals in life. It even cost her the chance to bring up Alita when the little girl needed her the most, because she was just too busy. And she thought Alita had people caring for her. She didn't realize Alita was going to be homeless. Yeah, just thinking about it. Career choice. Yeah, she's strapped on top of the MSAM, and she's considering her life choices. Makes sense. And also symbolically important, she's wearing Alexi's old suit, his old spacesuit, because the other suits wouldn't fit her, and these were more stretchy, the Russian suits. And Dmitri bonds with her over this. They both miss Alexei. And Ed gets the MCM ready. And, Kelly and Ed share that they love each other, and they launch the MSAM. Kelly separates exactly at the right time when the fuel starts running out. And so she manages to get the PMU to the Phoenix. Considering, should I have barbecue chicken for dinner?
I'm already considering that myself.
Yeah. Let's see. Their fuel is still only at 59%. 1 minute separation. And so this is a big thing of the episode going. Executing pitch maneuver so I love all these diagrams in this episode. Unhooking safety harness, so she's ready to go. And she's firing the PMU boosters. And there she goes. She's rocketing to the Phoenix. So that's fun. And it's working. And they get her. She makes it to the airlock of the Phoenix. And Ed starts descending back down to Mars. And Karen's looking for Jimmy, and she finds him, and she also finds explosive devices. And she tries to alert security about what's going on and about this bomb that she's found. But and unfortunately, when she tries to tell security, Charles detonates, or he detonates the bomb, destroying a huge portion of the space center. It blows up a huge portion of the building. Jimmy survives. There's Ed coming down. I didn't write anything for this portion. Why did I take a screen cap of the blinking light? Okay, so he made it back. Ed made it back to Mars. And everybody is, the news is getting word of the bombing that took place at Johnson Space Center. Jimmy survives, and he removes debris, and he's able to find Karen, and she passes away. So there goes Karen. I guess she won't be the CEO of Helios after all.
No.
And at least the very last thing she did was alert security to the mom. It's just too bad they couldn't stop it. And, well, at least she did one good thing before she left. And I can't really be mad at her for the way she treated Ed so badly, because losing her will make him not even care about any of it. And of course, Mission Control is in ashes, and Molly is actually using her blindness as an advantage. She's rescuing people because she's used to being in the dark, so being blind, she already knows how to navigate. And so she's helping people out using that skill. And Molly's always been my favorite, but here she's doing that same thing.
Yeah.
Where she says she's a selfish prick, but at the same time she's also not very selfish. She's
Well, I
very
mean, she went
selfless.
out and, in a certain moment, she'll be selfless and she'll go out and help other people. I mean, she proved that on the moon. That's what got her blind. And so, I think this is a fitting way to have her, depart the show, if you will.
Yes, exactly. She showed her selflessness on the moon when she saved Wabu.
Yeah.
They really did make that name easy to remember.
It's the stairwell. Head down. Make your way to the front of the building. Someone help him down. I'm going back for more people.
And so everybody's able to follow Molly's voice to escape. Well, not everybody, but she's helping as many people as she can. And I knew this was coming. I see it coming, but I was definitely tearing up for this one because I knew what was happening when she walked into the darkness.
But she goes out a hero, and that's great.
She does. I'm still gonna miss her. She's my favorite.
She was great, yeah. And they've immortalized her, in a way. So.
True. Yeah, they renamed the Johnson Space Center to Molly's. What do they name it?
Molly Cobb Space Center.
Molly Cobb Space Center. There you go. Thank you. Oh, and this is kind of neat. So Aleda makes it to Margot's office, but half the room is gone. The piano's gone. Everything's gone. And she's just looking at all the missing building that's missing. And I don't know who's head and NASA now. Because Margot's gone.
Yeah.
I guess that's season 4 thing. I'll have to find out later.
Yep.
And is it going to be Aleda or is well, I guess the question is it going to either be a LEDA or is Congress going to be able to pass their bill and control NASA?
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to you finding out next week.
Well, yes. I think those are the main possibilities. So Grigori finds Ed. He's happy to see him, obviously. Unfortunately, Danielle has to tell him the bad news that Karen's died in a bombing at the Johnson Space Center. And everybody has memorial services for everyone who's passed away in the bombing.
Yeah.
And it's huge. There were a lot of deaths because of stupid Jimmy and Danny.
Okay. Yeah, they ruin everything. These damn Stevens boys.
Yeah. Maybe Gordo and Tracy shouldn't have had any kids. But speaking of having kids, Kelly's got a baby. So there's she gave birth successfully to her son.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. You can tell because it's a blue blinky. And we've got
they banish his ass. Yeah,
they banish him. It's crazy.
Good.
Yeah. But for how long? Like this is basically solitary confinement.
Mm-hmm.
And this is actually what Lee wanted. Lee wanted to go back to his ship. and he would have loved to be back on his ship and people send him supplies and he could wait for North Korea to come get him. But that's not going to happen. It's never going to happen.
No.
They don't have that capability. So he's going to need help. So that's why they keep him and get rid of Danny.
It's an even trade.
Yeah, fair enough. And yeah. So, and somebody's going to come keep bringing supplies to Danny. So he's going to be the one eating all the food and throwing the containers. And so he has, just like the North Korean, he has a photo of his wife and his daughter. And so does Danielle, but her photo is on her computer. And so that's the way that they're remembering their families as they're stuck on Mars for the next year and a half. And they have a mission. They have a daily summary report. So she's got her captain's logs there. And there's her husband and a stepson.
Yeah.
And Lee gets to speak to his wife. So that makes him happy. Ellen's also, since she's come out, she figures she can be with Pam now. And that's no longer, after all these years, she finally is not living a lie. No matter whether, like, she's not going to be president for very long. But I don't think that matters to her. I think she's done with that. She's happy. And of course, Molly Cobb, the Molly Cobb Space Center has been renamed to Molly Cobb Space Center. Which it's a beautiful tribute, but it's still
bittersweet.
Darkness was her death scene, and it is. It's really sad. But we move on to 2003. Sergei was mowing the lawn in America. Margot is waking up in Russia. So the fun irony, they've swapped places. These two people and their sexless affair. It's going to continue to be such. They're still too far away from each other.
Yeah. And we will all find out next time on season 4.
Yes, and we'll find out more next time on season 4. This is the end of the episode. We got to see a pregnant lady strapped to a rocket.
Yeah.
Got to see. Well, we got to see Molly one last time. And Wayne is poor Wayne.
Yeah, he lost both of his girls.
Yeah, well, and he doesn't even he had a close friendship with Karen. Whatever I think
Yeah.
of her, they did have so he can't even commiserate with someone that he would have been able to talk to. So what?
Yeah.
Poor, who's going to take care of Wayne?
Yeah.
Wayne.
Yeah. That was my concern too. I mean, he lost his wife. He lost his best friend. It's like, wow.
I don't know. And is Jimmy going to fess up to his crimes? Or is he going to feel any remorse for what he's done? Is he going to be a better person than Danny and own up to what he's his wait?
I mean, I obviously know the answers, but
yeah, you obviously know the answers. I'm just asking the question.
But my whole thing is I want to tell you and I can't. But
I know you can't, but I have to think about what's happening.
I think you asking the questions is always good. So, what else are you thinking about for next season, or hoping for?
Let's see. I don't know. So I don't know. Well, we have that crew who's stuck on Mars for a year and a half. So who's gonna survive that? We're gonna have they're the Helios, NASA, the Russians all living together. It's like a sitcom, but more dangerous. And then there's a gun that's buried underneath the sand somewhere, marked by a wrench. Who's gonna go pull that up and cause some mess?
Yep. You also have to keep in mind that when the season starts next time, it's going to be 8 years from where we left off, and so
yes,
yeah, it's going to be obviously, like I said, I know what happens, but I'm really curious what you think your speculation is on For All Mankind 2003.
How the world has changed from that point to the next
world,
point.
the characters.
Well, like I was saying earlier, Danny did for the space program the opposite what his parents did. His parents saved it by stopping the meltdown. But Danny seems to have grinded it to a halt by causing this destruction, by causing this disaster. And so I don't know. It's not going to stop completely because they're still going to be mining for Helium-3. That's something that's valuable. The moon is like a business trip. So nobody cares about going to the moon. Moon and back, that's fine. Let's go to the moon. But Mars, that's too dangerous. The Mars is a waste of money and it's a disaster and things blow up and you get buried in the sand. Don't go there. But go to the moon all you like. And so that's but they still have to get their people back from Mars and eventually. A year and a half will have passed already, so they're already back home. Everybody's so are they so if NASA's not gonna make the new colony and Helios is not gonna make the new colony and Russia, I don't know what the hell Russia's doing. So it's probably going to be up to Dev. Dev's going to be doing something, and we're still going to have. Maybe we'll still have the colony that's being built, but it's being built by. No, now we have another person, another company going to Mars because you can't keep Dev down. He's going to do his thing.
No.
And that's gonna ignite the rest of them to work on it too.
Do you think it's likely anybody that is currently stuck on Mars would potentially stay for longer. Maybe even
Who would
remain
want
on
to stay?
Mars.
Ed? He likes. No, but he
That's a
wants to
good
see
guess.
his grandchild.
Yeah.
That's a toss up because who does Kelly
Okay.
have now? Kelly's going back home and her mom's not there. Her
Yeah.
mom's dead. So
Yeah,
Kelly
true.
kind of needs him at the same time. We'll see what he chooses.
Yeah.
And yeah, so and Margot's stuck in Russia. Whatever that's gonna do. But she's still gonna be working for she's gonna be doing something.
You're of the opinion that Ellen's only going to be serving one term.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Who do you think might be president next time?
President next?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think
Think it could be her vice president or somebody else?
vice president. Not her vice president. No, I don't think he has that kind of appeal to be president. Hmm. No, I don't know. I can't think of it.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. Your perspective
Yeah.
already is interesting enough.
Yeah, thanks. I'm less good at I'm better at the space stuff than the politics.
I feel like I'm an amateur at most things, but I feel like I'm pretty halfway decent about history, politics, space, and some media.
Mm. Oh, I'm an amateur at everything too. Greek letter says, "Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Is it Superman? Nope. It's a rocket astronaut." Keithy says, "Stopping by to lurk a little and hit the like button." Oh, that's very kind of you, Keithy. It's good to hear you're around. And Gavin Blackburn says, "A sexless affair takes all the fun out of having an affair, kind of." Yeah, well, yeah, they were at all of these conferences, and the most they ever did was hold hands and share a drink, and they finally made out a little bit, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, and also I've had the KGB following us around this entire time. Here they are."
Yeah.
And of course, yeah. So then Greek letter says, "Unless they discover something valuable in Mars, then all hell is going to break loose." Oh, right. They still have the water that they have to test the water to see if there's life. I mean, when they do build the colony, they've got to have the water going already. I'm sure water will be going already by the time we get to 2003. Gavin says, "We're going to have to rename him." Spoiler, Philip.
Maybe. Spoiler, Phil.
Gavin Blackburn says, "How many explosions next year, Jill?" Oh, explosions? Let's see. 7. I don't know. I'm just pulling a number out of my hat for that. But anyway, we're getting to the last season that has episodes. It's not the last season of the series because we're gonna get a season 5, but it's not out yet. So this is the last season that is out and ready to watch. Season 4. And so this is going to be the last season we're covering this year. For season 4, we have episode 1 called Glass Knot. And the synopsis is 8 years later, a new mission begins. Capture an asteroid. Elena and Danielle are still haunted by events from the past. Oh, capture an asteroid.
Yep.
Depends what's on the asteroid. Episode 2 says, "Have a nice soul." And the synopsis is, new Helios employees arrive on Mars. as NASA undergoes major changes. Well, there you go, and that's what we're gonna have next Tuesday. We'll start up season 4. We're going directly into
Yeah.
season 4 because I'm on a
Yeah.
timeline. I gotta make
Right.
it to December 3rd.
So,
Finish
where would you rank, or how would you rank all of these 3 seasons now that you've seen these 3?
these 3.
Yes.
Oh, I'm a sucker for the realities of. I loved season 1. Season 1 was almost perfect.
Okay.
The only reason the latter seasons are better is because they amplify the stakes and increase what's going on and expand what's possible. So it's difficult for me to rank them. Right? I like the mixture of real history with fantasy, and so that was season 1. And by season 2, we departed completely from most of the things. A lot of the things. Some of the things still happen.
Yeah.
And even more so in season 3. So it becomes its own universe very quickly.
Yeah. Do you think the whole Danny and Karen thing kind of drops the quality of season 2?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think season 1, I love season 1. So 1, 3, 2.
Okay. Pretty solid then.
Mm-hmm. Lance says, "Sorry I cannot join you guys for this. Someone has me booked for a script writing session for tonight. Season 3 was ace." Yes,
It
well,
was.
the thing, Ronald D. Moore knows how to close a season. This was amazing. It was movie level good. This was a good movie I just watched. It was
Yeah.
it was fun. It was
Mm-hmm.
heartbreaking. It was all the things. So
Yeah.
it did a good job. And it didn't it teases while still giving you a complete story. And so that's what I enjoy about it, is that I'm not left questioning, hey, this is something that they fed us at the beginning and now they're just stretching it out forever. They don't do that. This show doesn't do that to me. And I appreciate that quite a
Yeah.
bit. So
My
there's a bit.
suspicion
Hmm.
is that you'll rank season 4 ahead of season 3,
Hmm.
but we'll see how that changes when we actually get through season 4.
Oh, all right. Good news.
I don't think it'll
I guess we'll
surpass season
find.
1 for you, but
Yeah, season 1 is something special. I think it's
yeah.
too special. It's gotta be my favorite.
But I do think 4 gets pretty close.
And that's probably mostly because I am a Molly fan.
Yeah.
How many explosions? 7. I already said 7. Let's see if there are more. I'm sure there'll be more than 7. I don't know what controlled explosions. If it's a controlled explosion, more than that.
Huh. I haven't really thought about that, but maybe we'll have to actually start counting them and see
Yeah,
if your prediction is accurate.
yeah, but not the controlled ones. Just the unexpected ones.
Yeah. Interesting.
But I think that's all we've got for today. Is there anything you want to share with us before we go?
Yeah, sure. Other than the fact that I'm still getting over sinus infection, um,
Oh
I do
no,
want
I didn't
to.
know that. You sounded fine today. Go ahead.
Well, I think my voice was kind of, better than it's been. But aside from that, yeah, the Fleet Album Levi show, we're doing our horror month. So if you want to join us for that, you can. Next week or this week will be I think the last time we're going to cover anything, and then next month will be Fantasy Month, and then we'll be closing out the year on my channel with a special, sort of state of the channel, sort of vlog of how the year went, and then we'll probably come back middle of January, and then yeah, that'll be it'll be that for the show. But yeah, please join us. We always want more people. We're at 61 subs, so we're slowly but surely getting there.
Yeah, you'll build your community and you'll build your listenership, and it'll be great.
Yeah,
and you're
I'm looking
just
forward
at the
to
very beginning. Your baby channel.
yeah.
You'll
Just started in May,
make
so
it. Yeah,
we'll get there.
definitely.
But no,
And then also
you'll
there's your Twitter also, so you can
exactly.
keep up
So yeah,
with the show.
and then yeah, you can join us, Phil and Jill, for next week and our coverage of season 4 of For All Mankind.
Yeah, we're catching up with the real time For All Mankind, which is good. Which is
Yeah.
something that I've always planned on doing, is covering old shows but also new shows. So the first thing I covered was the new season of The Orville when season 3 came out, and I reviewed 1 and 2, and then I was just in time ready for 3, and that was perfect. Then I covered TOS, Star Trek, and now it's all about For All Mankind. So, and then I'm going back in time after, in December. We're gonna talk about the Twilight Zone. So I got to figure out who's interested in talking to me about that and make a list of.
I mean, I know I definitely love to.
Yes.
That's definitely one of my favorite shows. I'm kind of in touch with the guy who wrote the Twilight Zone companion, so it's kind of like a little like behind the scenes information from it. So
well,
that could be a valuable resource.
I'm buying that book and I'm using it as a resource for the podcast. But if you're friends with Mark Scott Zachary, that would be amazing to
Well, I don't think
talk
I'm
to him. But
quite friends, but we're in connection,
oh, okay.
which is kind of crazy to me.
That would be pretty cool. That would be a cool
Yeah.
deviation. Like just have a well, we'll talk about that later.
If we can get him on your channel, that would be a whole different thing.
Yeah. Probably they could. He's a fan. He'd be really fun. Gavin Blackburn says, "Are we ever going to cover Star Trek: The Next Generation?" I don't know. In terms of like one by one, I'm not sure. I think I kind of just cover TNG randomly on Fridays, like how I did Relics, and just pick an episode. Just maybe do just whatever I feel like. Like remember that time I did Data episodes, and I did the one with Lol and Data's Day. And I am covering TNG. It's just random, out of order on Fridays. But Tuesday For All Mankind up until December 3rd. Then we're gonna start. Then it's gonna be my birthday, the next Tuesday. So I'm gonna pick a movie for that. Possibly either Short Circuit, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, or Stay Tuned. And I'm leaning towards Stay Tuned. I might do Stay Tuned.
Stay tuned. That's my vote.
I'm kind of feeling that too. Maybe I'll put it up for a vote and see what people say.
Yeah, I'd be curious.
And then on Fridays, I'm still continuing my Harry Potter series. We've got two more streams to go. We've got Deathly Hallows Part 1 and Part 2. And maybe the following week I'll do a trivia. We'll see if I feel like doing that. But until then, have a wonderful Tuesday. Thanks for coming to Mars with me. It was really great hanging out with you guys. And where am I? There am I. There I am. And so we'll continue our space travels next week. I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
See you guys.
and the ways our differences combine to create meaning and beauty.
It has always been easier to destroy than to create.
May we together become greater than the sum of both of us.
Well, now you have something new to think about. Carry on.
I was going to say that you're a force of nature,
No,
and
I'm a selfish prick. That's okay. Selfish pricks change the world. All right. That's enough of that shit. There's the stairwell. Head down. Make your way to the front of the building. Someone help him down. I'm going back for more people.
In English, it would be I ran from the wolf, but ran into the bear.
All right, move along. Done. Stop it. Get off of the things. Go outside. Get some food. It's like, you know, it's a time of day where you live. Go do something. Shut up, Snoopy. I don't care. You smoke too much. Let's go. Let's go adventure. Let's go explore.
See you around the galaxy.